Namaste, my friend. We are going to talk and discuss and understand today the stress free life, desire, happiness inside. Normally, the step four knows that we have to separate the binding and the unbinding desire. But made a title Stress Free Life, Desire, Happiness Inside Within You. The moment you desire peace and happiness outside, it is binding. Why it is binding? Because you chase them. You are chasing peace and happiness, love and wisdom. But if you desire happiness inside, peace and happiness follows you. Peace and happiness chase you. Are you getting it? So make a choice. You chase peace and happiness, or you create such a condition in your life so that peace and happiness constantly chase you. When? All the time. Where? In all the locations, in all relations, in all objects. Because when the peace and happiness chase you, whatever the condition you have, whatever the event or relations you have, peace and happiness is chasing you. So you live into that state all the time. That is the journey of the Eastern wisdom. We have covered the first three steps. I believe you remember them. But anyhow, I will cover briefly. So today we are going to reintroduce this idea, this thought, this understanding that stress free life can only take place when we desire happiness inside us. There is no other way. Whether we go and start living in Eiffel Tower in France, we cannot live there. Why I said so? Because the world does not have the happiness and peace, love and wisdom. World itself is constantly changing. Think for a while what we all human beings desire in our life on a daily basis. We feel a sense of insecurity, so we are running here and there. We are insulted as if we feel. So we are starting a security in our relations so that no one should criticize, should insult us. But it happens all the time. I cannot control the speech of anyone in the world. So the first desire that we have is sense of security we are seeking from the world outside. So how we get a sense of security, uh, what we do in our life, you have to think the same way I'm thinking for you this week, every day. Now, the moment you put yourself into any action, you are thinking, you are speaking and acting, analyze each and every thought. Is this thought? Is this speech? Is this action seeking security? And then ask yourself where I'm seeking is security. So the first desire that we have is seeking a sense of security. Because I have a sense of insecurity, we all have. Isn't it true? So now understand little deeper into the sense of security. We are seeking financial security by making a self-effort. It is natural and we should all do. As a human being, we should make a self-effort. A job or business, whatever it is. The sense of financial security is required to meet the basic physical needs of food, shelter, clothes, etc. That's genuine. Then we are seeking a security of our physical well being, physical security. Oh, I should not have sickness so that we take care of our exercise, food, etc., etc. We also, as we grow older, like both of us, so we also seek security of our kids. At least, kids should be happy all the time. So means we seek a security in our relations. Are you getting it? We are understanding stress-free life, desire, happiness inside. So at present, this desire is the outside. I'm desiring for money to be secure. I'm desiring the physical well-being to be secure. I'm desiring my relations should at least be happy, should be independent, especially my kids. Do you think that you are free from the sense of insecurity? We also seek a sense of security by marriage, a sense of emotional security. Maybe we become old and we think that, okay, in the olden days, we should take care of each other. Nothing happens because there is a sense of emotional insecurity that keeps us at a distance, even if we are living together. So we have to understand what kind of a desire that we have. And we are constantly struggling to have this kind of a security from the world, and that never happens in our life. We become old, we are young, we are desiring the security from the world outside. We are in the middle age, we become old, we are growing old, and we are constantly seeking that security in our life, and we die because of that security. That is our first desire. Everyone says more or less the same desire. Think of it. Then once we find a kind of, we have an imagined security. We love, we have a soulmate, we marry, and then we find my partner has an affair. What we did for security and what we found. Or I married to an imagined person in my life because I have that imagination that at least I should get that partner. And the fact is otherwise. So we are constantly struggling for security when we are seeking security from the world outside. We have millions of dollars, but I'm physically sick. Doctor says we can't do anything. Pay attention. So the first desire is all about security at the physical level, at the emotional level, at the level of our relationship. That is what happens. Then the second desire is also associated with the world outside. We want to have all kinds of pleasures which we say happiness in the world by eating, by buying new clothes, by buying new car, new home, gadgets, and all vacation, you name anything where we are happy. Oh, throwing a party to prove ourselves. That is what happens in life. To get recognized that I have enough, and you see how happy I am, but inside I'm not happy. Are you clear? So, second desire is to have all kinds of pleasures, and the modern age lures, seduces. Modern marketing is an art of seduction that lures us. Get this car, you'll be happy. Get this clothes, you'll be happy. Get this food from this restaurant, you'll be happy. Get on this vacation. This vacation brings you to happiness. But just think you are on a vacation and you are sick there. Happiness is gone. You go to the restaurant, you order a food that you like, and on that day, the food is not prepared. You leave the food, you don't pay the tip, you return. Did it happen in your life someday? You know, I derive my happiness in my kids, but kids do not listen to you. Instead, they refuse to entertain you. So when I'm seeking the pleasure from the world outside, it is not there. So now see that once we have financial security, somewhat physical security, kids are there, they are also well placed. And second desire is that pleasure, we go on vacation, etc., etc., and we return back. Then the third desire comes, oh, let us donate something, let us do some kind of a service, let us help others, helping our relations, so that, I'll be happy. But those people you help, they refuse you. They don't care you. They don't care even helping you, helping them. We have been doing, we have been thinking, speaking, and working and acting in the three domains of these three desires. We become old, and still we are thinking about these three desires. Eastern wisdom, our master says, you don't know the fourth desire. And that fourth desire is located inside you. What is located inside? Peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. Your nature is peace and happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. Why I'm seeking happiness outside then? Because I don't know. That is one understanding. Because I don't know, that's why I'm searching peace and happiness outside. And because we believed that I'm unhappy, I'm dissatisfied, I'm insecure, my insecurity can be removed by the word, it did not happen until now. My unhappiness, I'm unhappy, and my happiness is located outside. It did not happen until today. Dissatisfied inside, satisfaction never came from the world outside. So, two reasons you have to see. I'm searching peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom only because I feel I'm unhappy inside, I'm dissatisfied inside, I'm insecure inside. And Master says that happiness is you. You see a big contradictions in our life. That is why not many people likes to follow this path. It's a journey. You have lived your life until 50 and 60 years. Do you want to spare few more years to your life to reach to that state where you discover and you follow the fourth desire? What is the fourth desire? Ultimate peace and happiness lies within us. We have to discover our real self and the real nature. So the fourth desire is unbinding desire. It does not bind you. You can seek the fourth desire. No, I am peace and happiness in this situation. Just start thinking that peace and happiness is within me. Your mind will calm down instantly. And when you desire the world outside of people, relations, situations, objects, and things, it causes the binding. It becomes the binding desire for us. Why it is binding? Because it follows the attachment, emotional dependence. We paralyze our intellect. We believe that someone loves us, and after a few years, we find that guy loves someone else. You love your son, but the son loves the drugs. You spend thousands of dollars in the marriage of your son or daughter, but ultimately the son and daughter says bye bye, not interested in talking to you. I can tell. No, it is our duty to take care of those kids. As a duty, if you do it, you are free. That is our second step. So it does not bind you. You have done your duty. You have the resources. You have done it. That women in New Jersey working for a very reputed jewelry company. So she was helping and supporting uh, financially paying the school fees for her daughter. And she also supported her financing the car. So one day she asked her daughter, "Let me drive your car." And she saw the rear and the front seats were burnt by the cigarettes. And she became totally crazy. So before saying anything to her daughter, she called me and she started crying. What the heck she is doing? I'm just talking about the binding and unbinding desire. She started crying. I have spent thousands of dollars for her and what she is doing. She is smoking, and I'm scared that she may be on the drugs. When she calmed down, I said, "Could you support me the same way as you supported your daughter?" "No, I cannot do it. You are not related to me." I said, "I agreed with you. I like it. So why you supported her?" "Because she is my daughter. So you have an obligation, you have a duty towards your daughter, but you should not expect anything. You do your duty. So your duty should remain as an unbinding desire. You have the resources, so you did it. You cannot do for me." Understanding is required. Once we have a clear understanding, that is the step number two that we discussed in detail in the last few sessions. So then I went to her next day and we discussed in detail and we followed these steps and she became very happy. So after a month, I was also present and she said, I told her that you have to talk in front of me. You have to talk to your daughter in front of me, expressing that what is your duty, you did it, and to remind her duty towards you. So I was sitting and she invited because she also knew me, me means her daughter. And so she came very beautifully. She said, I'm your mother. It is my obligation. I must do my duty as a mother. I have the resources. I paid for your school fees. Do you agree? Otherwise, kids in US, in our country, they leave the house of their parents and they do everything. So the daughter said, thank you, mom. So I did extra care by paying for your car every month. Is it not true? I did my duty. And daughter has tears in her eyes. You see how to deal with this situation demands a clarity in our thinking, in our approach towards the world. And the last month when I asked you to let me drive your car, and when I saw the cigarettes burn both the rear and the front seat, it means you had a couple of those friends who burned those seats perhaps, and you burnt your seat also. I felt a lot of pain. Mother said. The mother also said, I felt a lot of pain because I want you to settle in your life. She could not say anything. She came, daughter came and hugged her mom. And she said, I promise you I will not do this again. A month before, she called me, she was crazy. We are talking of the fourth desire, stress free life when you desire happiness outside, while expressing your duty outside. Master says that we should keep the fourth desire, the desire for peace and desire to seek peace and happiness within me. Why within me? World does not have that peace and happiness. It is my real self. My true nature is of the nature of peace and happiness. Rest all the desires are binding. Only one desire to seek happiness within is unbinding. It helps you to grow and evolve. We are learning the fourth step I have been telling you. But we have to change our thinking. The entire journey is all about uh, the way we live in the society. Our mind is focused on the first three desires of security, of pleasure, of doing some good work. But we should keep on doing it, but we should not impose peace and happiness on those desires outside. What will happen? My mind will start thinking wrongly. I will develop a wrong understanding, emotional dependence, intellectual paralysis, fantasy will live in my mind. It has a wrong notion. I will develop a wrong opinion about myself, like the mother. Mother thanked me. Mother said, I evolved. I realized. Now I do not allow my emotions to interfere in my duty. Duty is duty. I must do it. If I don't do it, I will create an unfavorable circumstances. So I separate by thinking rightly at all the time. Your daughter, your son, whosoever enters in your life at a particular time, they knocks the door, you welcome them. It's your duty. Just do as a duty out of love. But don't expect. They have their own problems. Do not interfere in their problems until you are asked for. Second and third step, you separate completely in your thought, in your in your in your mind. When our thinking is right, our understanding about ourselves will always be right. So we are suffering because of our wrong understanding, caused by the likes and dislikes, attachment and detachment, even in our daily life. We are caught up without any reason. And then when start mind raises the doubt, and when the mind raises the doubt in yourself, you fall into anxiety, duality, and a conflict. And it continues until the death. Do you want to continue? Get rid of this. Have a right thinking, right approach. That is what the Eastern wisdom says. Eastern wisdom says you should have a right thinking. And the moment you start your journey with the fourth desire and you keep that desire all the time in your mind, desire for peace and happiness, where it lies, it is with it. You keep on thinking about it and feeling. What will happen? The mind that is emotionally attached and seeking the peace and happiness outside will get a break, will have a moment of solitude, even while living with the people. You internally you are thinking. And you will be equipped to deal with the situation in a much better way. Because you are calm, you are relaxed, you are not expecting any peace and happiness. You'll be able to think and speak and act objectively. Otherwise, we subjectify all our problems. We need to intensify this desire. When you intensify this desire, you will discover the mind enters into the state of calmness. Then you will realize, yes, what the masters are saying is true. That is why you listen the step one. What was the step one? That I should know what is the real self, what is the false I. So we can now separate in our mind easily any form of anxiety, duality, conflict, suffering comes due to the false I, and real I is always of the nature of peace and happiness. So the master lays importance, our teachers, 10,000 years, tradition continues, knowledge is available. But we need a teacher to explain to you because it personalizes. While constant listening and learning, the time comes, your mind is now settled that peace and happiness are within me. 80% of the job is done. The rest 20%, we do practice and we follow this tradition and we reach there. So in the step one, we recognize there are two eyes. One is the false eye, other is the real eye. How to recognize that one eye is constantly changing and the other eye remains constant. You were 5 years old, 10 years, 20, 40, 50, and now that I did not change throughout the aging process of the body. How do you know it? Because you know your childhood, you know your youth. That is the real I. So real I recognizes, but the false I constantly changes. What does it mean? I am in stress in the morning, I'm upset in the afternoon, I'm happy in the evening, I have a disturbed sleep. You know this I, one eye is stress, this second eye is upset, third eye is have pleasure, fourth eye has a disturbed sleep. So this eye is constantly changing. But behind that, there is a real I who knows all the four aspects of the false eye. You have to recognize, I have to become aware of it. Do you remember? That's why I talk to you. Does anyone sends you the SMS, email, or call you that, oh, tomorrow you get upset when I meet you? Day after tomorrow, you get angry over me. No one says you. But I become upset, I become anxious, I become angry. Why? Because of the false eye. Everything is happening inside me. My master used to say that you are listening and learning, listening and learning. One day the mind clicks to that wisdom and you are changed completely. Even when the past impression pushes you, you hold it back. You remain in that state of peace and happiness. That is what the second step is. So, in the second step, we know our duty in our life, we perform them in peace and happiness. That is all. You just recognize when the son knocks the door, you are mother. Your duty of a mother to listen to them, to hear, to give the better advice. You are not concerned whether they are respecting you or not. It's a part of their journey, it is their outlook. What happens? You are not emotionally attached. So, what is happening in this entire process, the attitude in the mind is not seeking anything because it will cause the binding desire. And action outside, you express in relationship and peace and happiness. Why? Because I'm doing my duty. I have to do it. So doing my duty out of peace and happiness in all your relations will never allow you to be anxiety and stress and reaction at any point of time. And if you don't do this, then your mind expects, it causes the desire. That is what we discussed. The desire full of expectation causes me the anxiety, duality, and a conflict. So that is gone. That the second step has to be done all the time in the world. That is what is known as the karma yoga. So what is happening when you are doing your duty out of love and care and removing the expectation, your mind is going to purify. Your mind will become pure. Emotional dependence will dissolve. Intellectual fantasy and the paralysis will go. It will be replaced by the wisdom, caring and the sharing all the time. And the one who cares and the shares all the time, the life is going to change. The way this air cares me, even when I'm asleep, it goes inside and comes out. Air is a great giver. Space is a great giver. The Mother Earth is a great giver. So life changes from a consumer to a giver. So when I have a giver attitude, I follow the duty. I'm aware. If I do the duty, it will purify my mind. It will add value to my life. It will keep my mind at calm and peace all the time. So first two steps we have done. So why the master says you should have a giving nature and you should perform your duty? The entire existence in the nature is a giver. Air and the space and the water, sun, they are always available to us. They do not send us the bills. Do you see that? Why I stress upon this? The air does not send us the bill on a monthly basis like the municipality. They send the water and the garbage bills and the electricity. They send the bills, house taxes. Even that space on which your house is built belongs to the earth, but the municipality sends us the bill. But the earth does not send us the bill. Why I'm saying? Because expectation is nothing like, oh, I'm sending a bill to you. You should respect me. Remember, my friend, it's very important. It's an understanding. Clarity has to be there. So, attitude of the sun, air, and the space, water, and the earth is giver. So, I develop an attitude of a giver in my head. And while doing everything, master is not saying what to do and what not to do. Master is simply asking, understand how to do it. The approach of working should change in my life. What will happen? You will take an extra care of your body as a giving attitude. You will prevent a lot of illnesses. You know that the body does not demand anything. I have to give a balanced diet, balanced physical activity, a good sleep, a good food. But the ego, how the ego develops when I desire peace and happiness from the world outside. I told you, because of the sense of insecurity, dissatisfaction, and unhappiness that we have stored in our mind. Why I have stored in our mind? Because I believe happiness is not inside me, so I'm seeking it outside, but it is not outside. Second step. And the third step, so if I'm a giver, so that giver is the existence, that giver is in higher consciousness. So what is going to happen? We have to identify with that giver, not a seeker of peace and happiness in the world outside. Are you getting it? That is what also we complete. So we dedicate our thought, speech, and action to that giver in me. At present, you are a receiver and I'm a giver. I'm a giver of passing on the knowledge to you. And who is the giver of that knowledge to me? My master. And who is the giver of that knowledge? To my master, his master. So the lineage continues. It means the knowledge is always available. Why should I feel I'm only giving you the knowledge? So if I have an attitude that I'm just passing on that knowledge to you, I become a true giver. I recognize the entire existence. I'm connected to this existence all the time. That very connection drops the emotional dependence in you, an attachment in you, and you start living your life in peace and happiness. But I'm just summarizing in order to how we have to understand that. Binding desire, unbinding desire. So when we desire that peace and happiness inside, that is the fourth goal in our life. So what happens when you become a giver? The first three goals in your life becomes the means. They are not actually the goals. We have only one goal of life, is to discover peace and happiness inside us. We have to discover our true nature. That is the only goal of every human life. Because of wrong understanding, we recognize the three goals that I discussed as the goals. They are not goals, they are the means. By listening, learning, and doing the practice, continue with the last practice. Never forget. Every day. And share your experiences with me. So, what happens when I follow the third step as a giver regularly? Maybe a couple of months in a year time, your mind now switches on. It switches off to the idea of being a consumer. It switches on to the idea and a thought and a feeling and emotion of a giver. That day would be the finest day in your life. Finest day in your life. So, why Master is talking about the third step as a giver? Because the entire nature is giver. Everywhere we found the trees and the plants and the space and the air and the sun and the moon. And behind every giver, there is only one existence. So, what happens by having that giver attitude? I get a sense of what is that existence. You get an idea. You have flashes in your mind during the meditation. One benefit, and second benefit, that you get rid of the false I. We discussed in detail. You get rid of the false I. But if you keep your consumer attitude means the three means are the goals in my life. I'm unhappy because of you. I'm dissatisfied because of the situation. I'm insecure because of something happened outside. It will result into emotional dependence and expectations. So you see the step three, one, two, three. Step one was that I should acquire the knowledge and settle in that knowledge that what is my real self, what is my real nature. And the second is that we follow the step of karma yoga. I should change my attitude. Instead of being a consumer, I should do my duty, and duty free from attachment, duty free from expectation. I gave you an example of this woman and her daughter. I just received a call last month and they were very happy, especially her daughter. So daughter called me privately. No, no, you saved me from the wrath of my mom. I should never say this. Your mom loves you so much. Why should I say what happened? how he reacted on his call, on her call. I should not say. I should not create a wrong. But mother also changed. Mother also realized the importance of duty should be free from my expectations in the world, in the third step. So, because you are a continuously a giver all the time, that helps you to move the mind inside. Not only it purifies the mind, in meditation, you feel as if you are very close to the existence, which is not known to you until now. The step three, it is the highest. It replaces your ego. As long as the ego is there, it builds our expectations. Pleasure seeking mind remains acting. Expectation is always there. And it always causes a sense of anxiety wherever we are going, thinking, and speaking in our life. Every moment is a life of anxiety. But now, by the third step, every every moment in the life is lived for the existence, is lived for the existence. Step one, to recognize, to understand intellectually what is the real self, that has to be realized by completing the 40 steps. Second step is that the greatest obstacle on the path of realizing the real self is the domination of the false I. How the false I dominates: by thought as a thinker, by speech as a speaker, by acting, working as a doer. So we have to replace this thinker, the speaker, and the doer in daily life. We have to think what is my duty and how do I perform my duty the best possible way. Anyone in your relations, in your profession. Your son comes, you perform your duty as a mother. That's all. Leaving the binding desire. Example of the women. I can cite many examples. So second is a crucial step that we can do all the time, 24 by 7. Your mind should is saturated with the thought that, okay, now I'm going to interact with the world outside, I'm going to meet, I'm going to a workplace. Oh, let me see what is my duty and I should perform my duty. You recognize, you think. Don't get upset whatever is happening inside and outside. In your relations, the duty is performed. When you do your duty without an expectation, is there any problem? But that expectation comes because of the first three desires: desire for the security, for the pleasure, and for doing some good things to others. But when we follow these three desires out of the ego, they remain as a desire in my life and builds a strong ego that is responsible for my anxiety, duality, conflict, and the problems. And the third step strengthens you. Third step, that I become a give, I recognize, I identify myself with a giver in me. The giver is always perceived outside. Leave aside the human being for a while, and you see the sun always gives. There could not be day and night. Will be disturbed if there is a 6 months of sun. there is no night. You already know the disturbances takes place in the northern hemisphere where the 6 months you have a light and 6 months you have a darkness. You cannot have a 100% adaptation. Same way, the space is there. The space is a giver. The plants are the givers. You should start thinking in that way. Oh, the plants are the givers. Why shouldn't I give? To replace that ego, which is acting as a doer and a spectator, to a giver. You're not changing anything outside. You're doing the same thing. What you're doing, you are dissolving the binding desires in your life. Binding desire means ego has to be there. And if ego is there, an expectation has to be there. When expectation has to be there, then the likes and dislikes has to be there. The likes and dislikes are there. You are bound to have the sorrow and the joy. And if the sorrow and the joy is there, you are bound to have the thoughts of hatred and the jealousy. If you have all of them, you are living in ignorance. Master says, remove the ignorance, live in wisdom. But when you are a giver, the natural calmness starts flowing out of you to people, to relations, to situation, to your body, to your mind. Emotional dependence goes away. That's one way to understand binding and the non-binding desire. Fourth step is I should work with the non-binding desire. So internally, you become the greatest giver as in at the individual level. And the giver is that existence, which sometimes we say God is also there. God is always a giver. One meaning of the God is it is a constant, unconditional giver. I have to approach him, I have to become a giver. My master was an epitome of love. And he's, even without his physical body, he's an epitome of love. Why? All his hundreds of disciples, including me, claim that he loves me more than anyone. He loves me. Every disciple says the same thing. Ego cannot love everyone. When I have an emotional dependence, you choose, you're selective. When he was physically alive, everyone was inspired that he was a giver of love, equally to all. Binding desire, unbinding desire is the fourth step. So first thing is to recognize the binding and the unbinding desire. It's really easy to recognize the unbinding desire. The first three desires, we should strip the status of these three desires as a means in our life. And then we become a giver in fulfilling that means. Let me give the best in what I'm doing. at my personal, professional, and social level to remove that sense of the ego and the anxiety. So what happens? These binding desires becomes the means. They support the fourth desire. What is the fourth desire? To seek the real self in me, because I am of the nature of peace and happiness. Your sense of insecurity drops because I'm now a giver. Sense of insecurity continues because if I'm a taker, I believe you're getting it. It's a very important message before we move to the next four steps. Fifth step. Just remember in your head all the time. First, oh, I was in anxiety, so it was the false I which was acting. I'm reacting false. You simply say in your mind and see the impact. I'm not saying to do the practice at the time when you are into anxiety. Just say to yourself, oh, it was the false I that was acting on me. That is why I'm into anxiety, into reaction, into duality and a conflict. Real I cannot enter into that state of anxiety and a conflict. No way. A sense of dissatisfaction comes because I find satisfaction is outside, but there is no satisfaction outside. So you simply say to yourself, oh, as such, there is no satisfaction. I have tried everything, repeated everything, couple of times, many times, hundreds of times, but I did not get that ultimate satisfaction. Why? I'm a taker. I force myself. Your mind becomes very soft and gentle. Your mind becomes full of affection because you are a giver. So that is what we have learned today, is that how to bring about a change from the binding desire to the unbinding desire to evolve myself when 24 by 7. Remember on your tips, I am understanding the nature of true nature of myself or my true nature. So I'm rejecting calmly, consciously the false I. How? The second step is doing my duty without any expectation and aligning myself with the existence as a giver. Fourth is then the past impressions pulls me back and pushes me into the binding desire. That is why we discuss the fourth step to understand what is the binding desire and what is the unbinding desire. So when you change in your head the binding desire to the unbinding, we will understand it deeply in our next lesson in detail, the step number four. Giver attitudinal change in my head. How? By thinking, because that thinking will change your emotion. You'll have emotional freedom instead of emotional dependence, and a constant awareness of real self in our life. Namaste.